Hi, I'm Zeke Torres, and today's PROC gossip is about WUSS, the Western Users of SAS. And we're here with Richann Watson. Richann, hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for joining. And I'm excited. I'm curious all about not just WUSS, but where the region is going. But before we get into that, tell me a little bit about your background. One of the things that I know about you, Richann, is that you're in the Midwest, but you're helping out WUSS. I know you from Midwest and from really participating kind of here where I'm from in the Chicago or kind of the Midwest region. Um, Number one, you've been a long time SaaS user, so you have a great amount of experience and you've helped out with regionals. How did you get started? What's your background with regionals and then now you're with WUSS? So tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so my actual start with any kind of conference was pharmasug, which back then in 2004 it was considered a regional conference. That was my very first conference, and presented. I got best paper. I was all excited, just yeah. And first time ever going to a conference, and I thought I'm going to get more involved. Well, then the following year in 2005, I was reached out by the president of the time for Midwest, asking if I could basically pinch hit because their section chair dropped out, and I'm like, okay, I'll give this a try. And basically the rest is history. I've been hooked. So I've basically given almost 15, 16 years of my life to helping out, the different conferences. And I mainly focused with, the regionals. I recently got involved with, the bigger conferences, but mainly started off with Midwest, helping a lot with them. Then I started going to WUSS and then CSUG as well, but mainly I started off venturing out where it was in California. I went to WUSS, which I was born in California, so I have strong roots in California. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I go out there quite a bit. And it just seemed natural to be more involved with WUSS. And next thing you
Oh,
know, they asked me to be a chair.
So I think there's a trend going on with regionals. I think some regionals have talent or leadership that aren't necessarily in their region. Now, let me phrase that a little bit differently and in a way so that people who aren't familiar with what regionals are can understand what regionals are, because I think some people that are going to watch this have no idea what we're talking about when we say regionals and conferences for SaaS. So the regionals are carved up geographic areas of the US, and they're represented by these SaaS groups that have an annual or a semi-annual event. But the norm is that the leadership or the volunteer help base comes from within the area. But I think in the recent years, the volunteer base is coming from different places. So that's the history. That's the phrasing of the question. But the question to you is, do you think that's happening more? And what do you think about that, right? You mentioned your roots are from California, so I presume you have family, friends, and so on. But is this a trend or is this just a fluke?
I actually think it's more of a trend. I see a lot of regionals. It's becoming more of a loose term because they are reaching to other people outside of their geographic area. And I think it mainly is because, within a particular geographic area, that area may only have a certain type of industry, or they may, but as we go more into a virtual reality, life base, we start having the ability to work from home. And so now you have people who are in the Midwest that can now do pharmaceutical type work because they don't have to be near the big pharmas. So
Sure.
now you can start getting these individuals that have these specific types of skill sets that were not part of your region.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? I do agree it's a trend. I think more of that is happening, and I think that yeah, COVID has pushed all of that into hyperspeed where it's disrupted a whole slew of things. And one of the things I mentioned in another episode of Proc Gossip with Richard Allen and with Nancy Brucken is that I think unfortunately what's going to happen in our industry is because of COVID, some people may have retired, may have moved away from the career of SaaS or analytics. So it's a whole jostling of our industry because of a pandemic. And so it'll be nice to start gathering in person again when it's safe, but I think it's going to be a different landscape, and maybe the regionals are changing as well. So that'll be interesting to see. But
Mhm.
back to WUSS. So now tell us, what is your position, or what is your work for this time around with WUSS?
I am actually this year, I'm the operations chair. So dealing with a lot of the operations and logistics of getting things up and running.
Okay. So for people who aren't familiar with how these regional conferences work, there's a chair position or a dual chair or
Dual
some kind
chairs.
of leadership role that these people just work really hard to make sure that these efforts get actually delegated to other people further below. So you've been building your team now for a while
Right.
on the cusp of a very crazy 2020 COVID conference. How did WUSS handle that? What happened? Tell us what you can share about the WUSS experience inside, outside for, the 2020 COVID issue.
So I joined in February actually as the team. So I was late coming to the WUS team, and so it's been a bit of a whirlwind for me. I know I was part of the conference team in the sense that I was going to be a section chair for 2020, but with everything that happened, it just became, well, it wasn't the right time to pivot and try to just put something out there without having all of our ducks in a row. So then, it was decided that they're gonna step back, rethink, and then let's get some people on the team, get an academic chair, get an operations chair that are prepared to handle a virtual event.
Yep.
So, and then that's where, we step in with the 2021 team. We have me as the operations chair, and we have Richard Hector is the academic chair.
Yeah, and I think it is, there is, on my behalf, no criticism to any regional or local for 2020 if they couldn't do something, because it was really just everybody hunkered down, stay safe, and figured this out, because it was just that crazy of a situation. So I admire the groups that were able to do some things, and the volunteers that were able to pivot and do some things,
And
because
I do want to point out, Zeke, that a lot of this, people may not realize that we volunteer. We volunteer our free time to put these on. We're not getting paid. We have no kind of compensation other than we enjoy it. We enjoy contributing to the community. So we volunteer a lot of our free time to put this on. So having to rethink from going from an in-person to a virtual, like you said, that's a huge pivot.
yeah. And I think it is important to say to someone like you who's made that commitment for many years, I, as an indirect representative of SaaS users, globally, thank you for that effort, to tell you and your team. But, I've tried to say this to all the other regional leaders and their teams, including SaaS Global Forum, that we thank you. But I really am looking for a way to inspire these users to say, if you really appreciate the learning event, the quality of content that's there,
Mhm.
why not reach out to Richann and WUSS or pharmasug or Southeast, Midwest, and South Central and volunteer and help them, right? Because I think that's more important of a way to say thank you and that they appreciate it, is that they help out to make the conference that much more of a success. So to those listening, if you really appreciate what you're getting from these events and appreciate the effort that these volunteers make, help them out. That'd be a great way to help them.
Yeah,
Um,
because we're always looking for people that are willing to be committed to help us. I mean, like I said, we are volunteers, all of us volunteer, but I personally get a lot out of the volunteering. I get to meet amazing people, people that I probably would never have met in my life because I would never have had the opportunity to meet them, or I may not have had the bravery or the courage to go up to those individuals. But as somebody that's in a volunteer role, you have that additional courage to walk up to that person that you idolize and say, "Hey, can you do this for me? Because well, we need you to." Present at this time or do this, and then that's your way to start that conversation with that person.
sure. So then let me ask you this. WUSS is already what I like to call as an analogy, a train in momentum. And it's moving, and different people are pitching in to make sure that that train gets to its destination so the passengers can get on and enjoy the ride. Who are you looking for in terms of help? If somebody is watching this and says, wow, I think I might give that a shot. I mean, is it qualifications? Do they need to bring money? Do they need to bring beer? What do you and your team look for in
Beer.
terms of beer? Hey, who are you going to turn? You're not going to turn them away if they bring you beer, right? But
Exactly.
no,
No,
seriously, what are you looking for?
so we do need sponsors because, like I said, we don't get paid, but there's still costs. And so as part of my job as an operations chair is I have to make sure that I manage a budget. I still have to pay for any of the softwares that we are using, any of the other things that people may not think about that we have to account for. So having sponsors does help us. We do have a team of individuals that are out there looking for people to, contribute money to help us get that. We're also looking for people that who are willing to help with like reviewing submissions because we're getting ready to open call for papers because we do plan on having proceedings. We're not going to actually have presentations per se, but we're going to actually do more of like a proceedings, and we're thinking of doing it with a little different spin on it. We haven't ironed out all the details on this spin, so I really don't want to kind of give out the information in case it goes a different route. But we're going to do a little bit of a different spin on our proceedings than what you typically see. But we are looking for people that would be willing to help review those submissions as they come in because we want to make sure that we give the community quality content. And so we need people and we need a team of individuals that can review it because not everybody's going to have the same skill set. I don't know much about statistics, so you really don't want me to review. Well, I could do some statistics reviews, but some of this fancy stuff, I can't review that. I can't do any kind of reviews on anything about VIA. Give me anything about a graph and I can review it to no end, but
Sure. I guess the way I want to phrase that for listeners who are new to SAS is the team at WUSS has a variety of different people already in place to help if you're willing to volunteer. But the role that Richann was just talking about is somebody who is going to impact the content, because if you review these papers that are submitted by users, your recommendation on what to pick that gets selected
right.
is going to make the difference. And so you could literally be the first time that you're participating in a conference for users, and you are the person that gets to pick whether it's approved or rejected as far as the content that makes the conference a success. So that's how powerful a position that is, that I think is often understated, right? Because if you don't have that help, how is one person or a smaller team of people going to do it? But if you do have that help, that person can make a big difference, right?
Yeah, and you're right. We do have a team in place that we meet once a quarter just to iron out logistics. But like you said, we can't do everything. And our team is relatively small and we can't review every single submission that comes in. So this is where we reach out to the community to um, help us by reviewing and volunteering to do some of these reviews as the call for papers starts to open up and we start getting more, content coming in.
Yep. So then, when is call for papers? Give us an overview of at least some of the dates and key milestones that users should be on the lookout for here coming up in this year, so that things don't fall through the cracks. People can put it on their calendars and people know where to go to. Tell us what a call for papers is. Let's start with that.
Okay, so for call for papers, we are basically asking the community to submit content. You have an idea that has helped you in your job. It doesn't necessarily have to be a novel idea, but if it helped you do your job, then it may help somebody else. Submit that to our call for papers, and we're hoping to open that up within the next couple of weeks. We're currently working on that right now, and it has to go through some testing. But you have that content, and I look at it, for me, if I submit content and if I have helped at least one or two people, that I've done my job as an author. I've reached out to somebody, and I'm able to help them facilitate make their job easier. So we're looking for people that will be willing to submit content. Right now for call for papers, when it does open in the next couple of weeks, you don't have to have a complete paper written. You just basically need your title and your abstract. A working draft is always nice, but it isn't mandatory. But that's what we are looking for. We also, in terms of dates, you were asking about key dates. Like I said, the call for paper is probably within the next couple of weeks. But we do have other things going on. Not just we're not just going to have proceedings. We actually have training events going on. And we have one coming up next week. It's SAS plus R. And so we're doing training events every quarter. So our next one is going to be in June, and it's going to have we're hoping to have a statistics theme. So we're looking for, we're right now we have a reach out to individuals that we know have a stats background that may be considering teaching. And then we're going to do it again. We're going to have a basics and beyond in September, August, September timeframe, where these classes are going to be more like you're going to get a basics class, and then you're going to get a beyond class for a specific type of topic. And then come around the November, December, I like to call this one my hodgepodge theme. It's basically anything that didn't fit in the first three categories is going to be put in the fourth category.
Whatever's left over, right? Wow.
So I, in terms of dates, just keep watching the website, because we're going to be having these classes roll out as we get instructors confirming their dates.
Okay. So really, one thing that I want to emphasize for somebody who's potentially going to be an author, they're going to write a paper for the first time. One comment that I hear from people is, I wanted to write about PROC print, but I think it's already been done before. I wanted to write about PROC format, but I think it's been done before. I wanted to write about PROC SQL, but I think it's been done before. What's your take on that? Somebody wants to write about something, but they feel hesitant. I don't know. I don't think they're going to take it because it's been done before. What do you think?
Still submit it. So one of the things that I've done in my career is I actually mentored some individuals. They were based in the UK, not UK, in the Ukraine. Sorry, they were based in the Ukraine, and so I mentored them. Over a course of 4 years, we got a student that went to the university there. And as a mentor, I was supposed to be helping them, and I would help them with things like, basic things like English. I mean, you have to be able to communicate if you're going to be a SAS programmer. But as they were learning from me, I was learning from them, because they were giving me a fresh take on functions that I've always taken for granted.
Sure.
Procedures that I've always taken for granted. And I'm like, oh, wow, that is so cool. I didn't know you could do that. Yep. And so, submit it, because you may have a different take on it than what somebody else may have on it.
Yeah, I agree. I think people often underestimate the power of what they bring in terms of how they solved something. And so my advice to somebody who's thinking it's been done before, but I'd like to see how you do it.
Right.
I know somebody else has done it, but I'd like to see how you did it. And I think there's typically, at least in the conferences that I've been to, there's a lot of room for a lot of content. So I encourage people to give that as a really serious thought, that yes, you can do it. So now, your plan, what is the vision for WUSS coming up here in person, virtual? Tell us about it. What should we be on the lookout for and excited for as we transition back to something
safe? So as
I
mentioned, we are doing those training classes. So I'm pretty excited about that. We're getting some really top-notch instructors lined up to do these virtual training classes. If you've ever taught a 4-hour class online, it is not easy. It is not. I've done it. It's challenging, because for me, somebody like me, I'm very people oriented. So I like to, I get my energy from individuals. I get my energy from the classroom. So trying to teach online is not an easy thing. And so I'm giving a kudos to all these instructors that are agreeing to do this, that thank you for that, to those that are agreeing. So we do have all that coming up. Like I said, we're going to try to do a different take on proceedings. We're also going to try some different fun activities. We're still hashing them out, and we're still throwing ideas around as the main team is meeting. So we still haven't ironed out all of that, but we do know we're doing the trainings. We do know we're doing conference proceedings, and we are starting to plan for in person in 2022. So
Wow, that's
we
exciting.
are actually, I think we're looking to go to, I believe, San Francisco in
Okay,
2022. So,
cool. That
so
sounds exciting.
we meet, like I said, we meet once a quarter because we're constantly planning, and it's like a never ending job. You're always thinking about what can I do next? What can I give to the community next to keep them engaged and making sure that they get, what they want. We know our community is constantly thirsting for more knowledge. And so we want to make sure that give them that.
Yep. All right. Well, listen, I really appreciate your time, your information, and on behalf of users who are going to watch this and learn and get excited by this, thank you on behalf of them. Is there anything you want to remind us of, tell us of that we hadn't already thought of that you'd like to emphasize, or just make sure
I
we
just want
remember?
to tell people, make sure volunteer. It is very rewarding. It really is. I've been doing this, like I said, for 16 years, I believe 2004, 17 years. I've been doing this for 17 years, and I love it. I find it very rewarding and challenge. It's challenging at times, but it's very rewarding. I wouldn't have met Zeke if I
Yeah,
wouldn't have volunteered.
I
I met
know.
him I was volunteering at a conference, and I got to meet you way back when.
Yep, I think we did this. We did the typical thing where it was like we have beer at the volunteer table,
Yes.
and that's how we got our volunteers.
Yep.
That's what you had to learn if you wanted to be a good conference chair. As I've done my time as conference chair, is you make sure that the volunteer table has the best hors d'oeuvres and the best alcohol. That's how you get them.
But we can't do that now. This year we can
Yeah.
only give them, our extreme gratitude because we are all virtual right now. But we're extremely grateful for anybody that is willing to help us. I mean, it means the world to us when we do get people asking if they can help us.
Well, and I agree with you, but I want to say it this way, that it means a lot to the people who go and benefit from the conference.
Right.
So yes, you're helping the conference team, but you're also helping the community. So it's important to
But I'm a
emphasize that.
part of the community too.
Yeah, we
So,
are. We're part of the community. Yep. It helps us all. So, all
so
right. Well, listen, thanks everybody. Richann, thank you.
thank
And
you.
please visit the WUSS website. Richann, what's the website again so people know it?
WUSS, WUSS.org. WUSS.
That was the toughest question of the night, wasn't
Yes.
it?
Try saying WU next to each other.
All right, that'll be the challenge for everybody so that they won't forget it. Do that 5 times and then go to it. All right, everybody, have a good night.
Right. Thank you.